Zeophates, oxygen not included, tutorials, tips, and tricks. Okay, so hopefully you've watched the last tutorial on how to build your bathroom right now. So now what we're looking at is, what do we do with the water? Well, upside is the way this system is configured. These pipes are always going to remain full of water, so you'll never have to worry about them. The amount of germs that go in these things doesn't matter, because the dupes never come in contact with it, even ironically when they're washing their hands. So this is just going to get more and more and more germed, but not going to matter because, well, it's not going to affect anything. What is going to affect everything is going to be the water coming out of the system. So, what do we do with it? Well, there's two things you can do with it, because you don't want to put it into your normal water supply, because doing that, well, doing that's going to turn around and it's going to just spread food pollution. And that food pollution is, well, it's going to make your dupes sick, which is going to reduce the amount they can work. So we need some way of getting rid of pollution. For that, we're going to turn around and we're going to make what's called a chlorine chamber. Now, let's get this cleared out. There's a bit of a trick with you can do using water. And I actually think I'll show you. It's a sub trick, which I'll probably make a standalone video on, but it's usually really quick and easy to do. But it is useful nonetheless. What it is called is it is called a liquid lock. How you set one of these up is you have an organization like this. The dupe can still climb out, and as you can see, we currently have a vacuum in here. The dupes can still get through. It's no big deal. I'm actually going to... it should be more than enough room, actually. But, well, how are we going to keep the liquid from going anywhere? Or keep the air from going in there? Well, we're just going to... Well, that's not what I wanted to happen. Going to put a single block of water. That's going to just flood everywhere, make a complete and utter mess. Which actually is kind of the point. So everything in here is a vacuum. We've got our liquid there. So what's that going to do, I hear you ask? Well, you saw how quickly that filled up initially, and it didn't this time. Why is that? That is because this tile here, where that liquid is sitting, is classified as a vacuum. Gases cannot occupy that tile. So since gases cannot occupy that tile, gases can't move through that tile. So just that little bit of water just sitting right there, just that 31 grams of water is keeping this area here completely isolated from the rest of your base. Which, well, why do we want that? Well, the reason we want that, well, is because we're going to fill this chamber with chlorine gas. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can get chlorine gas. Really, 3 ways, and I'll show you each of them. First, let me just make it so the dupes can get access in there. Okay. Yeah. Here it's giving me an alert saying, hey, you're missing a research station. That's the advanced research, but I'll go over the laboratory room at a different tutorial vid, but you need that in order to get some of the research that had been selected. Okay, so how do you get chlorine? Well, there's 3 ways. Way 1 is you find a chamber like this, where you've got chlorine gas just sitting there. You build one of these locks, then dig into that chamber so it fills whatever void you want it to be in, or you put a gas pump in there and then you pipe it into whatever chamber you want it in. So that's method 1. Method 2 is if you happen to have rust and salt, you can use a rust deoxidizer, which is going to break down the rust and turn it into chlorine gas and oxygen. You then filter it using an air filter, and again, you pump it in there. The 3rd method is you need to come along, and since you're already in here, you'll eventually, see if I actually can see some in here. Ah, there it is. Bleachstone. Bleachstone will act the exact same way oxalate will. Meaning it will give off gas. So let me just quickly sample that. And we're going to put that there. Now, when it's in its stone state, it's not going to do anything. And you don't have the skills because this requires a hard digging skill to do it. Which, realistically speaking, nobody's going to actually have the skills needed to be able to do it, so at least not at this point in time. Quinn. Yeah, I don't remember how to upgrade your skills. But, okay, well, let's do that. Yeah, come on. Okay, so those are going to be the 3 ways you're going to be able to get bleach gas in there. So we're going to just fill this right now. It's not the stone that I wanted. Ah, right. Hey, come on. Let's get... There we are. Chlorine gas. So we're going to fill that up with chlorine gas. That gas is going to be our kill. That right there is going to be what's going to take care of any of the liquid that builds up. Because already you can see I'm starting to backlog here. That's because the liquids have nowhere to go. So how am I going to deal with that in here? Well, the way I'm going to deal with that is I'm going to come in here. I'm going to take this liquid reservoir and we're going to put 3 of them in. There are numerous ways you can achieve the result that we're going to get. You can use timers, you can use germ sensors. I'm just going to go for an easy method, but it is going to be time consuming. What's that easy method? Well, first off, the reason why we have the bridge here is because it's going to try to push all the liquid that way, anytime it can. When it can't do that, it's going to then continue traveling along whatever pipe. At least it should. Why are you not operating? You're being a pain. Right, that's because you were jammed up before. Okay, that's actually not that big a deal. There we go. Every now and then you need to get stuff to deconnect. So you're currently awaiting filtration medium, which means you need sand. And now it's up and running. So you can see the water's now flowing down here and it's coming in here. Right there, your germs. As it's in the chlorine room, those germs are dying rapidly. And that's actually what we want. But how are we going to get this system to be automatic? Well, the way we're going to do that is we're going to actually chain some of these tanks. So the liquid is going to flow along, and right now it's just going to, oh, excuse you, end in this tank here. Well, what are we going to do about it there, from there? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take our output, drop it down. Actually, we're just going to take our output and go straight. We are also going to grab that. And we're going to swing this back up, and it's going to connect into there. Why do we have this gap? Well, we're going to use another liquid bridge. So what's going to happen is the liquid is always going to be turning around and flowing in this loop. The only time this loop is going to be disrupted is whenever we get more liquid put into the system. And eventually these tanks are going to fill. And once they've done that, so no more water can go in the system, that's when the water is going to just start pushing out here. And from here, well, you can really just dump the water to do whatever you want. If you're not really too worried about germs, you can actually have this set up just simply as a 1-tank system, or you can have it continue set up as a 3-tank system. So let's show you what the 1-tank will look like. The disadvantage with the 1-tank system is If it will fill faster, but if germs get out, you're going to pay for it. So let's get that. We will separate that. Yeah, I built this wrong here. It happens to all of us. So let's just quickly destroy this system here. And there you've got a one-tank system. As the liquid's in the tank, it's going to be disinfecting itself, and then it's just going to shove the extra liquid out, and you can do with whatever you want. And that is a chlorine kill room. One caution to be wary of as far as these rooms are concerned is if you get too hot, that water will eventually evaporate, and well, then you're going to have gases going everywhere, so this can get disabled. Generally what I do, once I've got the system set up like this, where I don't need to go back in there again, completely block it off. You don't have to have a dupe go in there again. Of course, before you do this, make sure you clear out any material that's laying around and the liquids. But once it's in there, because there's no energy that's going into the system, it's operating all wholly on its own. You should theoretically never have to go back in there. You don't have to worry about it. So that is a chlorine kill room. You can do a similar system for your conveyor rails. If you're pulling stuff in that might be infected from outside, you can run your conveyor rails along in here. Just do a loop. And then you can just dump the material. This in here will clean it up. It's the exact same thing for gases. And the exact same setup. You can have a gas reservoir in here. You have your gases coming in, your gas going out. So the gas is going to go out, and you're just going to have your bridge set up. And any gases that come in here, if they've got germs in it, the chlorine's just going to kill them. But without mixing itself. So one chlorine kill chamber can deal with 3 separate methods. So that's how you clean up and get rid of diseases on materials, liquids, and gases.